Hi, everyone. It's Steve Westman from the Audiophiles. Woke up early this morning. I'm a huge Beatles fan, as I guess everyone knows. And I was thinking to myself, maybe one day we'll see the Beatles audiophiled by Mobile Fidelity, Analog Productions, maybe by Apple themselves. Now, do you care? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Leave some comments. We can chat about that as well. I truly don't know if it's going to happen again. I mean, we got the 2014 mono box sort of behind me there, as you can see. At this point, is there a point? I mean, what money would be involved to get the two estates, Ringo plus Paul, plus Apple, to agree to giving the tapes to someone like Analog Productions or Mobile Fidelity? I mean, what would it take? What would the cost be for that? I thought about it. I bet you it wouldn't be anything less starting point, $10 million. Guys, what do you think? I don't know who's on this live stream right now, but I think it'd be very interesting. I mean, I love the mono box set. I know they screwed up the stereo version years ago. It's obviously not, it was cut digitally. I would like to see a stereo audiophile pressed catalog. Could Analog Productions do it? Man, love to see it. Guys, drop some comments down there below. I also want to let everyone know that Kevin Gray will be on my channel this coming Friday to discuss his latest venture, his Coherent Records venture, where I just did a review of Kristen Edkins. She cut an album with Kevin, an all valve album, incredible sounding album. Go check out my latest review of that album, which I dropped earlier today. Hi, Carlos. How are you, man? Thanks for joining me. What do you think, Carlos? Beatles? Do we ever get tired of the Beatles? I don't know. I don't ever get tired of the Beatles. I've been following the Beatles since I was pre-teen. So for me, it's not the mono I want to see audiophiled. I want to see the stereo version of the Beatles back to its original audiophile roots. We know that Mobile Fidelity did it in the when was that, early 80s. Debate around that, if it was even from the analog tapes. They might have taken it from a digital source. Who knows? Hi, John. How are you? The Beatles are an odd duck, Steve. They don't release things much as repeats. Exactly. Again, I think with Apple, it's all about money, right, John? I think the starting bid would probably be 10 million just to start on that. I would guess, anyways. I'd like to see the stereo. That's basically what I'm looking for. I mean, I've got the mono box. I mean, the Revolver box. And yeah, good morning, John. Thanks for joining me. This is only, I think, only my third live stream ever. So guys, make some comments. We can sort of discuss things here or there. I also want to let everyone know, if you haven't just got onto this, Kevin Gray will be joining me this Friday for an interesting chat. Go to my review. And if you want to comment about the latest Kevin Gray all valve cut album by Kristen Edkins, please comment on that, because Kevin will be reading the comment, or I guess I'll be reading the comments to Kevin. Any questions that you have about his equipment, his recording processes, his favorite albums. He's asked me to get as many of my viewers as possible asking questions. So if you guys want to do that, that would be awesome. But again, you can see it at the title, Will the Beatles catalog, and I should have put in their stereo, will the Beatles stereo catalog ever become audiophile pressings again? I've done a few videos years back, hoping that Mobile Fidelity or Analog Productions would do it. But at this point, well, I don't know. I think it's all about money, guys. Carlos, what do you think? John, what do you think? I'm thinking that's pretty much what it will be. All about the money. Like Jerry Maguire said, show me the money. McCartney, Starr, the Two Estates, Danny Harrison, of course. I think they would release the tapes for a price. Why wouldn't they? We don't really have a good quality audiophile press stereo version of the Beatles catalog. I'm not a huge fan of the Mobile Fidelity catalog. Of course, there's debates there whether it was even from the if it was even mastered and cut from the original tapes. We don't know that. I know from my chats with Michael Fremer, he seems to think that there's a possibility that they didn't have enough time to actually master the tapes, so they had to use a digital source and then master from the digital source. Kind of crazy, right? We went through this whole DSD debate how long ago now, and this whole digital thing could have come up again with Mobile Fidelity back in the early 80s. So it's kind of crazy to basically see that happen again. But I don't know. Beatles audiophile pressings. Do you guys want to see it? Would you buy it? I mean, what's the price point for the entire catalog, maybe pressed by Analog Productions? What would you pay for that? We know that Bill Evans of Riverside Recordings. I mean, how many albums was that? I think that was 11 or 12 times 2 discs, and that's going for $900,000. What's Kev saying here? My opinion, the BC 13 box set is audiophile grade. Okay. And John, I think Apple, EMI, all of that are very, very protective of their tapes, everything in house. No one can even go into the vault that visits. I wish AAA stereo, but don't see it happening. That's the thing, right? I mean, that would be great as a Beatles fan. No one thinks that everyone thinks the tapes will remain at Abbey Road. So maybe can Abbey Road cut the stereo tapes basically directly to disc? Could they do that? That would cut out the middleman. It would leave more money in the pocket of the 2 remaining Beatles and the 2 other estates. I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, we've already seen it with the Revolver box here that is behind me somewhere. Where is it? Revolver box is right there. They have and those are all digital, but I mean, they have the Revolver mono in there, which is cut from AAA. So pretty unbelievable. So that could be what could be happening there, is that Apple get rid of the middleman, more money for themselves. That would make a lot of sense. I'd really like to see a stereo version of the Beatles catalog pressed audiophile style. Guys, what do you think? Everyone seems to think that they won't release the tapes. So then do we have to go to Apple and put a petition in and say, hey guys, why don't you cut them directly from tape? Have Giles Martin, I mean, not even remix them, but basically have them, not his remix, but just, cut from whatever's on that tape, cut right to vinyl, mastered to vinyl. What do you guys think? Sean would have to do it, and I'm not sure that there's a push for it. They're probably making plenty by movies and remixes, true. What about the Stones? At least the Beatles have the very good Giles releases. Us Stones fans only have the crappy half-speed Miles releases. Now, I'm friends with Miles Scholl. He believes in the half-speed mastered stuff. I mean, that's his thing. The Stones, I don't believe the Stones will ever become a AAA again. I think those are locked away. They're all going to be digitally sourced to vinyl at this point, from the things that I read. So unfortunately, if you're a Stones fan, you ain't ever going to see a AAA box of the Stones. Now, who has the recent mono Stones box set? What do you guys think of that? That was a transfer from Bob Ludwig, from his, I guess it'd be the 2014 transfer that he transferred to Sean McGee. McGee then recut it last year, the entire box. So a little bit fresher cut. And Sean hasn't really upgraded his equipment much. In 2014, he cut the Beatles mono. He's upgraded the system. I think he's added some, I don't know I can't remember exactly what it is. He added something to it, but nothing too major that would make it sound that much different. But again, some Kev here says the mono box, absolutely fantastic. So there you go. Put that up there. Have the recent Mono Stones box. It's absolutely phenomenal. I'm debating to get it. I'm from Canada, as I'm sure you guys know. And man, $600 US. That's $900 Canadian, plus the shipping, plus there's taxes, there's duties. That's over $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 for us Canadians. So yeah, it's big time. Carlos, have Kevin Gray cut their catalog. He's expressed his desire to work on their music, but Apple probably has no interest in audiophile releases. That would be cool. I mean, yes, Carlos, you've probably seen my interviews with Kevin. That's one of his dreams, is to cut the Beatles stuff. Yeah, will Apple release it? I don't think they're going to release it to a middle. I don't think they're going to release it to anyone but Apple themselves. So I think that's what's going to happen, if anything. And so what's John saying here? I always get the idea the Beatles have things planned out 5 years in advance. Well, I mean, it's a business. It's a multi-million-dollar business. So as a business entity, yes, John, obviously they're going to have things planned out. Just like, a year or two ago, they were already planning to, remix the Revolver album, which they did. We all know, I mean, there's no confirmation, but I mean, I won't bet my kids on it, but I would say that Rubber Soul will be the next remix within the next year. Maybe even see it this year. I've tried to get that out of Miles Scholl and Sean McGee when I've spoken to them privately, but obviously they're not going to tell me. I'm still also, I will tell everyone who's listening and watching right now, I am going to be setting up an interview with Giles Martin at some point this year. I'm working that out, hopefully, trying to land that. That'll be amazing. I have a lot of questions for Giles, but yeah, 5 years in advance, definitely they're planning for that. So maybe they are planning for an audiophile stereo box set. Now, here's a question for everyone that's watching right now. Would you buy it? Would you buy an audiophile, or okay, well, not even an audiophile? Would you buy a AAA stereo box set that was mastered by Apple? Not digital, not half-speed mastered. Let's say it was mastered and cut by Sean McGee from the original stereo tapes. What would you guys pay for something like that? What's that worth to you? We know the mono set there, it's behind me. You can see just above my head. What does that go for? $2,000 US right now. I mean, I remember that those at Costco in 2014 going for what was that? $200-$300. It was, it's incredible how much that's gone up in value. But now all albums, how much would that go for, guys? I want to see if you would buy it. I mean, I'm a sucker for anything Beatles, especially anything new. Let's see here. Let's see, Carlos in a heartbeat. What's he going? Where are you, Carlos? He goes, in a heartbeat, man. They need to be in print. True. Jonathan Peters, what's he saying here? Not the biggest Led Zeppelin fan, but I'd rather see that catalog get the audiophile treatment. At this point, so Chad owns the metal from his purchase of Classic Records. Here's the thing about that. I've interviewed Chad. I'm sure you know that. Nicole says she would buy it. Yeah, I've interviewed Chad. I've asked him exactly. I said, Chad, you have the metal. What would you do? He didn't really say much at all about that. And I think if you look at Led Zeppelin, I mean, you've got Jimmy Page that basically remasters all of them. I think these guys, it's a money-making business, just like Pink Floyd. Led Zeppelin's the same. They're out to make money. So I don't think they're going to involve a middleman like Analog Productions or Chad to do it. Even if Chad supposedly has the metal parts from Classic Records. I asked him that, and he was not clear on that either. So I don't even know if he does. And if he does, you still got to get the licensing as well. What's Kev saying here? Let's see here. Kev, what are you saying? I would buy a new AAA stereo Beatles box and a second Ultimate Shootout, BC13, the MFSLs, and the 209 box and the new box. Well, then we know the 209 box sucks. So no, I wouldn't even compare that one. That was awful. What's Carlos saying? Carlos, if the mono stereo box were repressed in today's money, at least $800 by this time, it'll sell out. Here's the thing. I tried to get confirmation on how many of the 2014 Beatles mono box was printed and pressed, and no one could give me a definite number on that. So I'd be curious to know how many are actually out there. Any guesses? I mean, we look at the Rolling Stones mono box. I believe that's limited to 10,000. The Beatles aren't like that though, right? It's a money-making venture. I can't imagine the Beatles are going to just limit. I mean, obviously they did for the monobox to some extent, but what was the number? Was it 10,000? Was it 20,000? I wonder what it was. But if anyone has an idea, I'd like to know. What's John saying here? John, I don't want Zepp Classic Records metalwork release. I want new mastering. The CRs are not that good as far as the Zeppelin. So I mean, Zeppelin Classic Records. I do have. I actually did a video on it as well. I've got the Zeppelin 4. I actually did an unsealing of it. I had a brand new one. It was mastered by Bernie Grundman. Sounds wonderful. Better than my original Canadian pressing I got years ago. I think Zeppelin's one of those ones. I mean, Zeppelin for a lot of people is either you love them or hate them. Maybe that's what it is. Depends on your era or whatever. But I don't see any of these. I don't really see the Beatles. I don't see Zeppelin. I don't see Pink Floyd at all using a middleman. That's for sure. What's Steve saying here? Steve's saying, I wasn't thrilled by the sound of the remix of Revolver, and he purchased it on Amazon and returned it. Tell me why you didn't like the sound of the remix and Revolver. I'd be curious to get some more information on that from you. If you want to just put it in the comments, that'd be cool. Joseph, I don't think the tapes would have to remain at Abbey Road. I don't. I mean, I know I can't remember the fellow's name. When I was talking to Miles Scholl at Abbey Road, there is a gatekeeper that looks after all the Beatles tapes at Abbey Road. And he would have a lot to do with any tapes leaving Abbey Road. But I don't really think Chad from Analog Productions will even have a shot at the tapes because they ain't going to use a middleman. Why would McCartney, why would Ringo Starr want to give money away when Apple is right there? They've got some great mastering engineers. You've got Sean McGee. I know a lot of you don't want, we don't want a digital stereo box. Obviously they did that in 2009 and it sucked. I have it and I don't even know where it is. I'll admit to you, actually it's in my garage. And that's one thing. I live in Vancouver. So, I mean, space is really is not at a premium here. So I've got Rubbermaid bins after Rubbermaid bins of pretty much most classic rock albums, Canadian pressings that my dad had for years that I go through now and then, and I'll pull it and then compare it to a reissue of the latest audiophile pressing of, let's say, Steely Dan or whatnot. I mean, we got the Steely Dan coming out, so that happened as well. But I mean, Steely Dan's not in the same, I guess, realm or league as the Beatles here. I'd love to see it happen. I know. Let's see what else. I want to see some more comments here. Let's see here. John again here. Where are you, John? Oh, Carlos, Steve, how would you feel if the mono box set was repressed, but in DSD MoFi style? The DSD debate, guys. Oh man. There's so much more I wish I could say about that whole DSD debate prior to it all blowing up, but that's okay. Watch my Fremer video as well. It was pretty interesting. How would I feel about it? I don't mind the MoFi stuff, even though it's DSD. Some of it sounds great. I mean, some of it sounds fantastic. If you listen to the Yes Fragile album, I have no problem with it at all. DSD, depending on who you want to argue with, basically a lot of people say it's the archival tape, right? It's the archival way to store digitally these days. So is it much? Can you tell the difference between analog and DSD? I mean, most people didn't prior to DSD Gate and MoFi last summer, right? So that was a big shock. So my answer to your question, yeah, I would buy it. I would be fine with it. Oh, here you go. Maybe it's we could do a MoFi one step of the entire Beatles catalog. That would be cool. John, again, I don't see Zepp, Floyd, Beatles exactly of any of those huge bands being RFL release. The big boys, exactly what I said. They control everything. And if they did, it would be Apple that controlled it for sure. And John, again, I'm going to be nice on the AA versus DSD. I laugh out loud. I don't have the energy. I think we've been through it for too many years now. Almost a year now, right? It's been kind of crazy, but Yeah, I don't have the energy any longer, but if it came out in DSD, I would buy it. I mean, there'd be debate over it, but that's fine. Stereo, audiophile, pressing, box set, catalog box set of the Beatles. I think it's going to happen at some point, but I think it's going to be an Apple release. I really do. I really, truly do. And I have no source on that. It's pure speculation. No one from Abbey Road that I've spoken to has told me at all if that's going to happen at all. So I have no idea. It's a complete guess, complete speculation on my part. And it goes back to, goes back to my point a year and a half or 2 years ago, when I was hoping to see a 50th anniversary Dark Side of the Moon, either by MoFi or Analog Productions. And of course that didn't happen. And I think he even said in the video, it probably won't, because again, the middleman, they don't want to basically, give money away when they can sell it on their own. And sure enough, Pink Floyd's coming out. Sean Guthrie, who is the gatekeeper of all the Pink Floyd tapes, basically, yeah, he's not going to release them to a third party. That's for sure. He masters them all himself, sends the files off to either, it wasn't Bernie Grundman this time. I think it was Glenn Meadows I think it was Glenn Meadows. I want to say Glenn Meadows, who mastered the recent 50th anniversary Dark Side of the Moon. I think it is. And if you guys can Google it, that's good. But if it's Glenn Meadows, he also did a wonderful job on the Citizen Dan or Citizen Steely Dan CD box set that came out a number of years ago now. Not bad at all. Steve, what are you saying here, bud? Not sure I would buy a box set, but would certainly be interested in the individual albums produced by Analog Productions. Not sure I would trust Abbey Road to do it. So would you trust, why not trust Abbey Road? Would you trust Sean McGee, knowing that he's more, he would cut from the analog stereo tapes? And Carlos is saying, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Carlos is saying, my money isn't on Abbey Road either. Why is that? I mean, who else could it be? They're not going to get a middle. They don't want a middleman. There's no way they want a middleman on this. This is impossible. John, MoFis are good until one compares them to something better, but some are okay with not. Just realize there are originals and older reissues that beat them. I have the entire Mobile Fidelity Beatles catalog. I don't like them. I did a review of the Sgt. Pepper MoFi versus I think it was my 1983 Canadian pressing, and I have an Australian 30th anniversary EMI pressing, I think it is. And it's red vinyl, and I thought that one actually sounded a lot better than the MoFi one. Fun fact on the MoFi Sgt. Pepper. So we know that Stan Ricker half-speed cut, the Beatles stereo. He did the UHQR. He did the Sgt. Pepper UHQR. But here's the thing: he did not master and cut the standalone Sgt. Pepper that's out there. That was actually done by Jack Hunt. And Jack Hunt half-speed mastered that one. So I find that interesting. I don't have a UHQR version of Sgt. Pepper, so I'd like to really know how much different Jack Hunt's cut is versus the Sgt. Pepper UHQR version of that Stan Ricker did. And that's another thing, talking to a lot of these mastering engineers, that I've been doing when I've been doing this channel and doing the interviews and talking to a lot of people in the industry, even back during the heydays of MoFi. I don't believe, again, Stan Ricker has passed away. I don't believe that MoFi cut directly from the analog tapes. I have a sneaking suspicion that they made a copy of the analog tapes and then, mastered and cut it to vinyl, just because of your half-speed mastering. You can basically wear out the tape more if you're basically going back and forth. So I truly feel, and talked to Michael Fremer about this, and he said he wasn't surprised if that was the case. Again, no one can confirm that, but yeah, that's a possibility. What's Jonathan saying? Jonathan Peters, I wouldn't mind a repress of Analog Production CCR box. Yeah, I think that would be pretty damn good. Andreas, hey. Hi, hello. John again here. I trust Sean, but would like for him to match them up with more Beatles stereo originals. There are also some issues with the stereo box, but Sean is very good. And that's what Sean does. These guys, when they master, when I was speaking to Sean, he'll definitely use, I mean, they've got an archive, right? So they're going to have the originals. And I know that Sean would definitely match up the original stereo UK version, of course, to, because those Capitol versions. And again, I don't want to get me started on the Capitol versions. Those are the worst. So I don't want to see those. But yeah, I think Sean McGee would do a wonderful job with that. Jonathan Peters again, the Kraft CCR remasters for being half speed aren't bad, but I'm sure the AP is better. I don't know. I haven't checked out the Kraft ones. I'm not a huge CCR fan. What was it, a number of years ago, John Fogerty got sued, basically because he copied some of the same chords from his CCR, so CCR, or the publisher of CCR music, sued John Fogerty or something like that. You can Google it, but I thought that was kind of interesting. So he used the same he used the same 3 chords in some of his songs. So I'm not a huge fan. A lot of it sounds the same to me, but yeah, I think I have like 1 CCR album. John again. What are we talking, John? The reason why the MoFi Beatles suck is because the ears of the head of MoFi were damaged. I'm serious, and that is why he told Sean to tip things up in the EQ. So what John is saying is this: Stan Ricker worked for MoFi. He was the mastering engineer, half-speed cut. He was ordered by MoFi to basically make it sound a certain way. So MoFi, the heads of MoFi at the time, wanted what's called a smiley EQ, and that's what John's saying there. So yeah, I do believe that Ricker couldn't probably master it exactly the way he wanted, and so a lot of those Beatle cuts have the smiley EQ. So yeah, it is what it is, right? What can you do? But yeah, anyone else? You guys want to see it? No one's told me what price they want to pay so far. Tell me what price they want to pay. I'd be curious to know. What would you pay for a stereo? So cut by Sean, mastered from the stereo tapes, cut by Sean B, in a nice, beautiful box set with the book. We all know the books. What would someone pay for that? $1,000, $1,500? We know the mono box set, mint condition, goes for, what is that, $1,500, $2,000? What do you think? Anyone? I sound like Ferris Bueller. But I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. What's John saying again here? Hang on. Yeah, and because the head of MoFi was in an accident, he had a hearing damage. Weird but true story. Didn't hear that. Michael Wood. How you doing, Michael? If we're talking retail 600, that's what you'd pay. I don't think I think it'd go way more than 600. I think the price point on, again, remember, this is AAA from the stereo tapes. Okay, the full catalog, $1,200 to $1,500. I bet you it would retail for, and people would buy it. Limit it to 20,000, maybe. I don't know. What was the MoFi, John? You could probably remember this. The MoFi box set, I believe it was 20,000. It was limited to the Beatles stereo MoFi box set back in the 80s. Maybe they limit it to that. EP, who's this? EPRFA, I think 1,000's reasonable. Bill Evans, 900. Okay. John, I had it MoFi, but sold it. Carlos, highest I'd pay is $800 to $900. Interesting. Okay. So I guess I'm a sucker. I would pay $1,500. If you haven't caught the beginning of this, I'm going to have Kevin Gray on Friday. If you have any comments or questions you want to ask Kevin Gray, go to my review of Kevin Gray's brand new debut album that he recorded, Kirsten Edkins, Sounds and Shape, or Shape and Sound. Wonderful album. Catch my review of it, guys. Kevin will be on Friday to answer questions, go over the recording process of that. It's his debut album. It was all valve, basically from microphone to cutter head. It took him 17 years to basically get all the equipment. So it's quite impressive. So yeah, check that out. Check my video about today. I just did a review of Kevin Gray's latest, I guess, debut album as an engineer. Michael Wood. John Bandy, 25, I think. I think you might be right, 25, sure. Michael Wood, I was just thinking of a bump up from the mono box price. I mean, sure, they could milk us for more. I mean, they're going to milk us for more. I mean, we know that, right? I mean, I bought the Revolver set. I bought the Let It Be set. I bought the Abbey Road set. I bought the White Album box. I mean, yeah, I'll keep buying. I'll absolutely keep buying. Michael Wood again. Saw the Kirsten video. Thank you. Definitely picking it up now. I had no idea it was limited. Okay. I didn't say it was limited. I will make this clear. The first 1,250 were pressed at RTI, and they've all been sold out. I was talking to Kevin Gray the other day. There's another 1,250 ready to go on the press right now. So if you get your order in at Acoustic Sounds, it'll show pre-order. Pre-order it. They're on their way. Again, I don't know the time frame, but they're not limited. They'll continue to be pressed as we move forward here. It's not a limited pressing. So I don't want to spread that misinformation at all. Let's see here. John Bandy. John, where are you here? Hang on. I'd rather pay 600, but realistic. Yeah, no one's paying. No one. We're not getting it for 600. Dr. Winston, do you like the Giles Martin Beatles releases? I've done some reviews on it. I do. I mean, the Revolver remix. I always felt the Revolver stereo needed a remix for years. I felt sounded muddy. It didn't have. Obviously, it was that old. What was it? A 4-track. It was a 4-track recording, right? So I mean, you'd have the vocals on one side. You'd have Ringo's drums somewhere. I just didn't really have that. Didn't really sound that great. I mean, you got to remember back in the mid '60s, mono was the way to go, right? So George Martin probably only spent 4, 5, 6, 7 hours. Mixing it to stereo. So I mean, it definitely sounds better with Giles' son with the remixes. I definitely like them. Carlos, my box set for Revolver on the shelf. Haven't played it. Well, play it. Come on. You only live once. I have a mint mid 80s blue box. Blue box is great. AAA plus mint Japanese pressings in the mono version. Yeah, not bad at all. Little fun fact too. Now, I had Tom Port on from Better Records, and years ago, years ago, before I had a YouTube channel, I bought a Better Records Help album from Tom Port. And the one that I have that he sold me, and I'm not going to say the price, it wasn't outrageous, but wasn't cheap. And yes, that was a 1984 blue box pressing, the Help album that Tom Port sold me, I believe, from the Matrix numbers. It's in one of my videos, one of my first videos years ago that I did. But definitely the blue box 80s sound absolutely incredible as well. Michael Wood, what are you saying there, bud? Still picking it up. Nice review. Thank you so much. Yeah, if you haven't, go to my video I posted this morning. Kevin Gray, All Valve, Kirsten Edkins. It sounds phenomenal, guys. I used to play instruments in high school. This one, I mean, he's got it where it sounds live and it's just in a very intimate setting. His recording studio, we're talking Kevin Gray now, was in his living room. So, I mean, he's got one mic just above the drums, one mic in the stent, in the piano, one mic for the trombone, one mic for the saxophone. I mean, it's really set up like the Rudy Van Gelder of the 1950s, right? So you're getting that feel to it as well. So it has that old school feel, that old school jazz. And there's a lot of new I think there's 6 or 7 brand new albums, brand new songs from that album. It's incredible. So you got to pick it up. Check out my review. A lot to go on there. John again, I'm hoping that Giles has enough practice now that Rubber Soul will be his best. Here's the thing, right? Giles didn't do a lot for Revolver. It was actually the software that Peter Jackson from Lord of the Rings fame, that was the software that he used. Now, I also did a video prior to Revolver coming out remixed, wanting Revolver to become out remixed. And I did mention in that video, this is all prior to this being released, that I was betting on Peter Jackson using that software, and sure enough, he did. So it was pretty cool. What's Steve saying here? Steve, I thought it sounded. Oh, hang on. Steve Schumann. I thought it sounded thin in spots. Got to get in my life. I have a Project 8X2 with a Hannah, very nice MH cart. So now not a low budge setup. Definitely not. You know what? As you guys probably know, I'm fortunate enough to be working with the Hi-Fi Center here in Vancouver. So, I mean, I'm, the gear that I have at my fingertips is some of the stuff that I have is insane. running a Lin L12 right now turntable. I think that's retailing for $35,000. So things sound different depending on the room that you're in. We're running an AccuPhase integrated amp right now with some Sonos Faber speakers. It fucking sounds amazing. The Revolver album sounds amazing in that setup. So it just depends on the setup. I mean, for your setup, maybe it doesn't sound as good, but I mean, you got a great setup. So there's maybe other albums that don't sound as great on my stuff than it does in yours, Steve. I mean, that could be possible. I saw Charlie Anderson. Charlie, how are you? Would love to see Chad do Roger Waters' Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking. Yes. If you guys don't know about Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking, pick it up. I've got the original CD. I think it's 84. I got it, 1984, 83. Around the same time, I think that's where Pink Floyd, the band, they had two options from Roger Waters. It was The Wall or Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking. And I believe they didn't want the Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking, obviously. So they picked The Wall to do. And so Roger went and did the Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking. It's really cool because what is a 35-minute album, and every song you'll see is basically timed out perfectly. So I have it somewhere. I gotta find it. I'll actually do I have it? Shit, I put it away somewhere. But yeah, check out Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking. It is a really good album. Hopefully he does that. That'd be cool. That would be a good one. I didn't even think about that. Michael Wood, yes, please, Chad. I really like the Pros and Cons. Just picked up Amused to Death AP is great. I've got that as well. Love it. John, then I hope they figure out the artifacts to this new method whenever they need to be done to improve the remix of Rubber Soul. Rubber Soul is really the only stereo Beatle that needs to be remixed. Yeah. Rubber Soul. I mean, it's going to happen. It's going to be the same software that they use for Revolver. So that's what's going to happen there. Absolutely. So the topic, stereo, Beatles catalog. Will it see an audiophile pressing? I think it's going to. And then Carlos, at some point, and I know John made a point maybe in 5 years. Steve, not sure if you've spoken on this yet, but what are your thoughts on the new Dark Side of the Moon 50th anniversary box set? I spoke to it when I did my chat with Michael Fremer a week or two ago. So go back to that. I'm not buying it. I actually put an order in for the live concert vinyl that is going to be released separately. I'm not buying the box. I mean, I've got so many copies of Dark Side of the Moon. I've got the Cisco. I mean, I've got an original Canadian. I've got the MoFi. I don't have the original UK. I wish I did, but I don't. But no, I've got SACD version of it. I've got original Canadian CD version of it. It goes on and on. I mean, I don't really need to listen to that one anytime soon. So definitely not buying a 50th anniversary box. I mean, especially for the price too, right? $200-$300. I think Glenn Meadows mastered it. I could be completely wrong. You might want to take a look at that, but I don't know. Who else do we have? Or Dr. Winston again. What do you think will be the next project for Giles? Well, the next project's, I think, going to be Rubber Soul. Absolutely. We know Magical Mystery Tour is a complete disaster, the Capital one. If anyone's interested in a great sounding, the best sounding in an audiophile quality Magical Mystery Tour, it's the Heizu German pressing. Check that. I think it was like a mail order pressing years ago. So that came out in 1973. Heizu, I think it's spelled Hazu. The Beatles Magical Mystery Tour, incredible sounding. You actually get to listen to Penny Lane in actual stereo on this recording, where you don't in anything else. So yeah, check that one out. They have to master all the Beatles albums in mono the same way as the 2022 mono LP of Revolver, but I think they'll release all the albums separately in those deluxe super editions. Well, they're going to release them all separately, but they're going to be remixed by Giles Martin. What I'm asking for here is not that. I just say, let's get Apple to get the stereo tapes out of the vault, give them to Sean McGee, cut them from the tapes right to vinyl. That's what I'd like to see. Michael Wood, dear Dark Sim is such a joke. Any chance Chad is doing UHQR and they're just keeping it hush? No, Chad is definitely not doing UHQR and any of that stuff. Pink Floyd, James Guthrie, they don't want to use the middleman. Absolutely not going to happen. Chad's not doing that. I still don't know what the next big UHQR is that Chad's doing, but my guess is it's going to be a Marley. I'd love to see Exodus or Catch a Fire, one of those two. Horzu, thank you. HORZU. Sorry about that. It's early here in Vancouver. Yeah, pick that up. Great sounding album. I have it. I have a mint copy. It sounds absolutely phenomenal. What did John Bandy say? Make sure you get the right Horzu. It's the 1973 Horzu is the right one, I believe. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, and mine's immaculate as well. So yeah, stereo version, audiophile pressing. It's going to happen. I know a lot of you don't want to. We don't want to see a digital cut of it. I definitely don't. I don't think that would fly. I know. Talking to the folks at Abbey Road, I think they're aware of that at this point from the screw up of the 2009 cut. So I don't think it's going to happen again. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to search for it, but yeah, I think it's a 73 is the one that you want, but it's in true stereo. Penny Lane sounds just phenomenal in true stereo. Steve, quality of clarity vinyl at AP is terrific. Chad goes through such a care to improve his reissues. As good as it can be. I don't know enough about Abbey Road processes. Well, I mean, they're European, so they're probably going to use GZ Media for their vinyl, right? That's what they did for the Revolver box set. Clarity vinyl, yeah. I mean, why does it sound so incredibly quiet? A3B2, thank you, John. Yes. What do they got in there that's making it so quiet? I'd like to know, because I mean, I think that's the reason why the clarity is such a great sound. It's so great. John, again, didn't they just do the Exodus as a deluxe? If they wonder if it will affect Chad's plan to do so, again, I think it's all about money, right? Bob Marley had like 10 kids or 12 kids. I think they all want a piece of the pie. So I think the estate just wants to start making money. So who cares if the Exodus came out as a deluxe? If it comes out as a UHQR 3500 or 5000 limited, that's going to sell out. I will buy one. I will buy two for sure. Absolutely. Anyone else? I still wanted to know what you guys would pay for a AAA stereo Beatles box. What would the price be? Does anyone want to guess? No. No one wants it. No one. I'm like I said before, I'd pay over $1,000. John says, didn't they just do? Yeah, I got that one. Sorry, did that one. Anyone else? Well, guys, I'm gonna wrap this up. It's almost 7 o'clock Vancouver time here. Again, check out my review today of Kevin Gray's debut album from his record label Coherent Records of Kirsten Edkins. Shape and Sounds, or Sound and Shape. Sorry, it's early here. I can't remember, but I posted that today. It's a wonderful album, and I really took time to listen to it. And I listened to it 10 times. Like I had it on for a couple of days straight. So I mean, I have a pretty good feel for that album at this point as well. John, thank you for showing up. Anyways, going back to it, if they ever do a AAA, which I think it'll happen, I have no basis for that, but that's how I feel. When they do a AAA, I would pay $1,200 US. I'm Canadian. I'd pay $1,500 US. I mean, that's my price range for that. And I think they'd get it. I think they could limit it to 20, 25, 30,000 and sell out pretty quickly. I really do. Guys, it's been wonderful. I thank you again for everything. I'll do some more of these, but check out my channel this Friday. I'm having Kevin Gray on. Go to my review of his album today. Put in the comments some of the questions you want to ask him, and I'll be asking those on my chat with him this Friday. So everyone have a great day. Hope you enjoyed this. Carlos, this is a great way to start my morning. Thanks. Oh man, this is good. This is my first morning broadcast ever. So I didn't even know how it would work. I didn't think I'd even have anyone on. So I appreciate you guys watching. Anyways, have a great day. Make it a good one. And, if you're going to be playing some vinyl, turn it up loud today. I think I'm going to play. What am I playing today? It's going to be, you know what? I was thinking about playing some Kind of Blue, but I think I'm kind of blued out with that one. So I don't know what it's going to be today. We'll have to see. Anyway, guys, take care. It's really nice that you guys could all join me, have a cup of coffee together, and we'll do this again very soon. We'll see you again very soon on the other side of the audio files. Talk to you again.